welcome back to the DigiGods podcast. We are once again minus Mark, who is in New York. Unexpectedly.
New York. It's cold in New York.
Yeah, he's unexpectedly in New York. His job's just yanking him around. He's got some crazy hours coming up too in the next month or so. So we're gonna, we're gonna after this we've got a couple more shows, and then we're gonna have our holiday show and roundup. And then we go on hiatus with probably a couple of cleanups in the month of December. So, but otherwise, we're getting close. The holiday show is going to be great. I'm not going to let it be 2.5 hours like it has been in the past. We're going to try to pare that sucker down a little bit. But Tim, how was Halloween? How was your Halloween?
Quiet. Children don't come to where I live for Halloween, and frankly, I don't blame them. I wouldn't have come up to my door either.
Well, we took my daughter out trick or treating. She was dressed as Sarah from Sarah and Duck, so she had the little stuffed duck and the whole thing. Yeah, we take her to this place in the it's called the Huntington Palisades in Pacific Palisades, where there's a competition in the Pacific Palisades where you can win awards if you do your house up in the most obnoxious possible way.
Yeah.
And so these people in this very, very ritzy neighborhood who apparently have way too much money and too much time on their hands, they go to town like you cannot even imagine. It's ridiculous. Yeah. I mean, animatronic stuff in the lawns and lasers and lights and everything else. It's crazy.
Now, some people just love Halloween. It's their favorite holiday.
One family even had their daughter dressed up as some kind of like a cow-headed demon, and she would pop out of a coffin on the lawn to scare people.
You gotta love it. Hey, it's L.A. Probably the child of a special effects.
Could be.
Almost certainly.
Fog machines and everything. Anyway, it was a lot of fun.
People just don't do the whole thing like when we were kids. You literally you just put on your ghost costume, cut the two eyes out of the old bed sheet or whatever, put the thing on.
Nope.
You walk down the street, you knock on the doors.
I was sort of astonished at how many teenage girls I saw going around as Harley Quinn, and I thought.
Movie still sucks.
Have your parents seen the movie?
Yeah.
Do they? Well, anyway.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, it is what it is. Well, anyway, we got a bunch of stuff to talk about today. I also want to make mention of the fact that Filmstruck, which is now delayed a few weeks, Filmstruck was supposed to have launched a couple of weeks ago. They wanted a couple more weeks to work out the all of the registration particulars, but I will tell you, having beta tested the stuff that I saw, and it's apparently going to be significantly
better. Lay that
better.
out for me again. Filmstruck.
So Filmstruck, new streaming service for those who have not been following this, brand new streaming service, initiated by TCM. And they pulled Criterion Collection in, and it's $7.99 a month. It's $11.99 a month if you add the Criterion Collection, their full streaming, which is not everything in the Criterion. Some things they've lost rights to, but it's everything that they have on Blu-ray and DVD current rights to. It's the full streaming collection, plus a rotating library of TCM films. Not everything TCM. They'll switch things in and out to keep it interesting. And they have additionally licensed with Kino, Flicker Alley, First Run Features, Milestone, and I talked to Dennis Doris from Milestone the other day too. We're going to have a little interview with him on the holiday show. And Indican, who does a lot of great docs and a lot of great classic stuff as well. 5 additional major indie foreign art film, and Kino alone is like an amazing thing. So all those guys, they're all going to be part of it as well. So it's going to be the place where if you're a film lover, if you're a cinephile, you will just
particularly
go.
Particularly of those sorts of movies. You can. I think Hulu provides a little chunk of Criterion.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there, but other than that, there's really no place where you're getting.
Yeah, no, this is a big deal. This is a big deal.
Yeah, all right. A real cinephile sort of
because it's curated. That's the thing I love about it. You go on, and it's not like Netflix where it's just like old movies, new movies, blah blah blah. What you've seen last. It's they actually have someone go in. They create really interesting little thematic corners and corners for filmmakers and auteurs, and you can just. It's a fun thing to explore.
Well, you need to know something about cinema. Netflix, you don't need to. Your grandmother has Netflix because your grandmother doesn't know anything about movies. So everything there, and then of course the algorithm chooses films for folks who watch Netflix based on what they've watched before. Here, you got to know a little something about movies. have to know a little something about these kind of movies. But nevertheless, you will still be introduced to things you may not know about or be reminded of things you know about, because the curating is happening separate from just what the algorithm says you watched the last time.
So many more people are going to be exposed to so many great filmmakers, great films. They're going to learn. I mean, this is like a great film school online. All the stuff that you and I saw in film school for the first time, or were exposed to because of professors, this is filling that void. I think it's going to be a great, great thing long term. So looking forward to that, probably a couple of weeks away. So hang in there, and we will keep you abreast of that. I'm going to start off with some classic stuff here. We got a whole bunch of interesting classic movie stuff. A couple of Criterions right off the bat, as long as we're talking about Filmstruck and all of that fun stuff. The Executioner is a 1963 film I had never heard of. And this is what I always love it when Criterion and Janus do this. This is from the Janus Library through Criterion. It's something that, it's not being put out because it is a great film that everyone knows about and everyone acknowledges. This is Criterion getting into their occasional mode of, we are going to put this out because we think you need to actually see this. And it really is. This is a fantastic black comedy from 1963.
Who will replace The Executioner?
The Executioner. This is a Spanish film, beautiful 4K transfer, and it is incredibly timely as well. It touches on a lot of really, really interesting political issues that were specific to the era of Franco, but which have relevance today in the world, given everything that's going on in Europe in particular. And it's essentially about it's a really, really dark comedy about an undertaker who marries the daughter of an executioner and then basically fulfills his father-in-law's job obligations so that they don't lose their government apartment, their government housing. It's dark and it's cynical and it's so incredibly funny in really awkward and uncomfortable ways. And how it actually managed to get made, is sort of a miracle. I mean, it reminds me a little, in some ways, of like Children of Paradise, which was made in Vichy, France, and it was this elaborate broadside against Nazism and the occupation, and somehow got made under the radar.
Reminiscent of some contemporary films coming out of Iran. Well, the Middle East in general.
Sure.
This is not a.
This is not a film.
This is not a film being.
So that's The Executioner. It comes with a whole bunch of really interesting stuff on it. An interview with Pedro Almodovar, who knows the film very well and really has an interesting insight in it. A new bit on the film. The guy who directed it, Luis Garcia Berlanga, who I'd never heard of.
Don't know.
They talked to his son, and they talked to other film critics and people who can sort of speak authoritatively to his career. And then there's a 2009 bit from Spanish television about the film, which is really, really interesting. So very, very interesting discovery. Just a really terrific film, and what a great one from Criterion. And then we talked about Shortcuts a few weeks ago on DVD. They got us the Blu-ray. And you know what? If you're a fan of Raymond Carver or of Robert Altman, you go nuts for Shortcuts.
I deeply love this movie. Aside from the fact that it's an inside Hollywood movie, this is 1993.
Yeah.
So we were here, and we were inside Hollywood.
True.
At that time, and how he looks inside Hollywood is kind of scathing about it.
It is, everything about these stories is it sort of splits the interesting difference between Carver and Altman in a really, really interesting way, and it's just terrific. Beautiful, beautiful Blu-ray transfer. The lot of extras here, tons of extras. Conversation with Altman and Tim Robbins from 2004. Luck, Trust, and Ketchup. Robert Altman in Carver Country, which is a 1993 documentary about the making of the film that I had never even heard of. I had no idea that even existed.
That's interesting.
Yeah, Luck, Trust, and Ketchup. Robert Altman in Carver Country. Really, really interesting look into the film. It's funny, Chris Penn being in this in the earthquake sequence, which I went to school with Chris.
Yeah, lost Chris a couple of years ago,
and it's so sad to me that he's gone. It's hard to believe. Great seeing him in this. And then there's a 1983 audio interview with Carver that was done for the American Audio Pros Library, which is also very interesting. So it's not all Altman all the time. There's a lot of Carver in there, and the Blu-ray transfer is gorgeous. Tim, we finally have Marx Brothers on Blu-ray.
Outstanding.
It's not every Marx
Silver Screen Collection.
It's not every Marx Brothers movie, but it's 5 really, really good ones. And I'm sorry that A Night at the Opera is not here. That's my favorite Marx Brothers movie. But that being said, they'll all come out eventually. This is the Marx Brothers Silver Screen Collection. All beautifully restored with an hour's worth of extras. And here are the movies that you get. You get The Coconuts, which is okay.
1929.
Yep. Animal Crackers, very funny. Very Monkey Business, terrific. Horse Feathers and Duck Soup, immortal.
29, 30, 31, and 32 and 33. Those all those movies were back to back to back.
Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, that's the way they used to do it back in the day, folks.
Yeah, that's it. Yep. So you don't get A Day at the Races, and you don't get Night at the Opera, and there's obviously other stuff that you're not getting here, but again, it will all come out eventually, and you get the Marx Brothers Hollywood's Kings of Chaos, which is a feature-length doc all about the family, and they interview everybody, including our friend Leonard Maltin. And it really gives you interesting insight into the family and how they. I mean, because there were 2 more brothers, Zeppo and Gummo.
And Gummo, who I think was the first to leave.
Gummo's the oldest.
Went behind the scenes
entirely. Zeppo is in like 2 of the films, and he's a total straight man. But Zeppo and Gummo were kind of the business geniuses. Apparently, Gummo, right? Gummo is the one that sort of set up the corporation and the licensing and did everything else. And it's fascinating stuff. Really an interesting family. Just a legendary American family. So that, and you also get rediscovered footage for Animal Crackers that has been edited back into the film that was originally taken out so that it would meet production code standards. We've taken Animal Crackers and we've turned it into the film that it was always meant to be by adding it back in. So this is Animal Crackers that has not been seen in 80 years.
And you know what? I haven't seen it that way too. I can't wait.
It's really amazing. Inside the NBC Vault, Today Show interviews with Harpo and Groucho and Bill Marx. And home movies and a lot of other really great stuff. You also get 5 brand new audio commentaries featuring Harpo's son, Bill Marx, and a bunch of film critics, and of course our good friends FX Feeney and Leonard Maltin. So, and look, as somebody who has done a doc that FX was interviewed for, and who has done commentaries with FX, I can tell you nobody gives better commentary than FX. It's a joy. So that is the Marx Brothers Collection, Silver Screen Collection, Coconuts, Animal Crackers, Monkey Business, Horse Feathers, and Duck Soup. Everything else will come out eventually, but you got to have those for now. It's a great start. Talladega Nights, The Ballad of Ricky Bobby, Will Ferrell, one of Will Ferrell's funniest films, I think. I can't even see the title of this without saying Little Baby Jesus. This is the big, hairy American winning edition. I have to believe that they've released this now to try and exploit the election in some way, that somehow they think that this has appeal in Trump country. They may be right. It's an odd time to release a 10th anniversary of this film, but why not? There's 90 minutes.
First of all, it's insane that film was 10 years ago.
Right?
Let's just say that. I'm sorry. That bugs the hell out of me. Seriously. I did a set visit for that movie. Yeah. It's just nuts that it's a decade ago already. That was, and you're right. It's the funniest of that sort of that sort of set of movies that Will Ferrell did. The one about basketball, Semi-Pro, I think is the name of it. It lives in that zone a little bit. And you know what? I love the way it looks at that whole sort of NASCAR, South Carolina, North Carolina scene. And it plays on every one of those things, but you know what? It's not really that mean about it.
It's not, right?
It's just funny.
It's just incredibly funny. And this was the first thing where Sacha Baron Cohen kind of made a screen presence known. We all knew him from television, right?
Yeah, Ali and all that.
Yeah, Ali G. But this was the first time that he kind of stepped out of that Ali G character into something else. And he's great. He's really a great presence. And of course, John C. Reilly, and this is one of the first things he did with Will Ferrell, and they just have great chemistry. So it's a lot of fun. I just think this is really one of the funniest films that Will Ferrell has ever done. Just really, really great. Tons and tons of stuff on here. There are 2 discs. There's a theatrical version and the unrated version. The theatrical version has lots and lots of deleted scenes and interviews and raw takes, and they even have Adam McKay's video diaries, which is pretty funny. Auditions and a commentary. And then there's a director and friends commentary on the unrated version. And Will Ferrell returns to Talladega featurette. A lot of other fun Walker and Texas Ranger featurette. A lot of fun stuff on here. So it's they know their audience, and they're having fun with it. All right, Tim, you didn't see Inferno, did you?
I heard you talking about Inferno on our radio program, Film Week, KPCC 89.3, or listen to the podcast. So I understand it deeply. Of course, the first one, Angels and Demons was the second one. That's what you're about to talk about.
Da Vinci Code and then Angels and Demons.
You got them both right there.
Yeah.
I worked my way through Da Vinci Code. Okay, had no problem with that movie. Fine. Okay, this is all ridiculous, but fine.
Yeah.
There was not very much meat on the bones in the middle one you're talking about. Inferno, it sounded to me like we're really just swinging.
Jumping the shark.
Yeah, jump the shark.
Big time.
So,
yeah.
Anyway, you got them both over there.
Inferno is just really weak and ridiculous. And I don't want to fault Ron Howard or Tom Hanks, because they are, as I said on the radio, this is a thriller about people from Hollywood trapped in a web of contractual obligations, which is really all that it is.
Yeah.
They're all obligated to make whatever Dan Brown wrote for a third book. Yeah. They were all obligated to do it
years ago.
If Dan Brown had written, if Inferno had been about the Tom Hanks character as like an evil clown raiding children's birthday parties naked, they would have had to do it. That was in the contract. So you can't fault them. Dan Brown just wrote a stinky novel, and everybody had to somehow try to make it not stink. Which
we can only hope this is the end of that.
Anyway, so you have a special first look with all new interviews that teases Inferno on both these re-releases of Angels and Demons and the original Da Vinci Code. That's the only reason they're re-releasing these things, just to try to squeeze a few more dollars out of everybody off of some momentary notoriety. The Da Vinci Code, both of these are Blu-ray and ultraviolet releases. If you want to, I'm not sure the original releases of these had ultraviolet on them, so that might be for those who are fans of these movies, might be a selling point. But Da Vinci Code is not a terrible film. It's just kind of cheesy. It takes a really preposterous concept and it sells it pretty decently, I think.
Yeah. It's a sort of silly myth that has always existed, and he strings together enough plausible, little clues in order to get you to a place where you don't completely and totally hate it. By the time you get to Angels and Demons, the clues are becoming thin, and the goals. Seriously. Jesus is long lost great. I don't even know how many granddaughters. That's where we're going.
So the transition here is that, of course, John Calley is no longer alive, the Warner Brothers exec and the legendary producer who we gave a LAFCA Career Achievement Award to some years ago. He passed since, and his presence as a producer is sorely missed. What also changes is Akiva Goldsman, who I'm not really a fan of, but he wrote the original Da Vinci Code. Get co-credit with David Koepp on Angels and Demons, and Koepp gets sole credit for Inferno. And you can tell, because Koepp, he's written that's what he does. He writes these particular kinds of puzzle movies, and it's all action, all puzzle, all running all the time. And
Mission
it's rather
Impossible. Yeah, exactly, yeah.
All that stuff. So anyway, so new Blu-rays of Angels and Demons and the original Da Vinci Code. Gregory Peck Centennial Collection.
Ooh.
To Kill a Mockingbird and Cape Fear. I'm gonna say the only reason really to get this, I still recommend the special edition of To Kill a Mockingbird, but here's the only reason to get this is for the ultraviolet, because both of these films now have ultraviolet codes here, so you can kick it up, or you can obviously check them out on iTunes. In any case, Gregory Peck Centennial Collection, To Kill a Mockingbird and Cape Fear, both on Blu-ray with ultraviolet. And then last on our classics list is a whole big, beautiful pile of Twilight Time Blu-ray releases. And you can go to twilightimemovies.com and grab these. That's where you can get them exclusively. These are all limited releases. from Twilight Time, classic movies that they have licensed from various libraries, mostly 20th, but a lot of really great stuff in here and really, really good transfers. And I just love the labor of love that these guys put in. First off, 9 to 5, which has been musicalized for Broadway, but I got to tell you, this is still one of the all-time great cast successes. Colin Higgins directed this, and you want to talk? I mean, Tim, you realize how long it's been since this movie was made?
1980.
Bing.
80.
1980. Yeah. Yes. Wow. 1980. It doesn't feel that long.
It does not. And you know what? That movie holds up in terms of humor. Frankly, the zeitgeist of the day is the zeitgeist of today on the heels of some things said about Donald Trump. And Dolly Parton, Lily Tomlin, Jane Fonda, Dabney Coleman. Dabney Coleman being just the perfect villain.
Yep.
He plays that villain just absolutely exquisitely at the center of that movie.
So here, I'm going to really scare you now. This was 36 years ago. 36 years ago. Do you know what was 36 years before 9 to 5? Mark hates it when I do this. We go from now, 36 years ago, to 9 to 5. In 9 to 5, if they go back 36 years, do you know where they land?
Where do they land?
1944. World War II is still on.
Oh, wow. Oh, my goodness. My God. That means, all of those, everybody on that cover would have been a child, but nevertheless on the planet.
It's just weird to me.
Yeah.
Just, time slows down and... Anyway, so 9 to 5, Dabney Coleman, still just absolutely terrific as the evil boss. Fantasy sequences are great. Dolly Parton, Jane Fonda, Lily Tomlin. Terrific pairing of actresses. Nobody would ever think to have put those three people into a movie. Certainly wouldn't think to do so today, but what a great pairing. And a lot of fun. Tons of special features. Isolated score, as you usually get. There's an audio commentary with all the actresses and producer Bruce Gilbert. Audio commentary with Patricia Resnick, who's the screenwriter, and then film historians Julie Kirgo and Nick Redman, who is, of course, one of the Twilight Time principals. And other little featurette bits here. Dolly Parton and Lily Tomlin are interviewed. There's deleted scenes. It's really this is one of the best things that Twilight Time has ever put out. They really, really loaded up the extras.
Sterling Hayden shows up in that movie.
Sterling Hayden. You know, my mother was almost nanny for Sterling Hayden. Did I ever tell you that? I've mentioned that on this show before. Yeah, when my mother was just fresh off the boat and dating my father. My mother, of course, from Germany. For those who don't know that. Yeah, she had nannied in Switzerland and she'd nannied in Scotland, and she was looking for a nanny position here. And Sterling Hayden was one of the positions she interviewed for to take. And my father, having a bit of Hollywood history, was like, no, it's not a place I'm going to have anyone that I'm associated with. And he talked her down off the because Sterling was a little off the few marbles loose. So let's go through some other stuff. We got a couple of Bronson films here. Murphy's Law, Charles Bronson. Kind of standard stuff for the 80s era post
Death Wish
Bronson,
but just kind of still doing the same thing.
Yeah, kind of doing the same thing. There's an audio commentary here with Kathleen Wilhoit, who's in the movie, and Nick Redman, and it's perfectly fine. It's it's not an amazing film, but it's not one of the worst that he's done. A little better is Bronson and his wife Jill Ireland in From Noon Till 3.
Yeah, middle 70s.
Yeah, this is mid 70s. This is really a really, really sharp film. It's kind of atypical of the way that westerns mutated from their 50s and 60s sort of tough John Wayne, John Ford, Jimmy Stewart angsty stuff. Everything got a little jokey in the 70s, light and frolicky and jokey. And it wasn't just Blazing Saddles. It was, the James Garner stuff. And,
Going South. I can think of a half.
Yeah, Going South is another one. Things got a little bit lighter, and that's what this is too. Frank Gilroy, the writer-director, gives us something that's a little bit between the 60s and the 70s era thing, and it's wonderful. It's really, really fun. Beautiful photography by the guy who shot The Wild Bunch. Elmer Bernstein wrote the music, which you get as an isolated score track, which is really, really terrific. And, it's just always wonderful seeing Bronson with Jill Ireland. Their real-life chemistry always comes through. Eye of the Needle.
Love that movie, Donald Sutherland.
Right. Directed by Richard Marquand, the late Richard Marquand, who did Return of the Jedi. And this is essentially the movie that landed him the job of directing Return of the Jedi. Eye of the Needle, which is based on a Ken Follett book that was a kind of a big deal. And it's it pretty much rides entirely on Donald Sutherland's performance. He's just really, really terrific and really good. Was this actually? I think this is the film he made after Return of the Jedi. Was it before or after? I want to say this is the one that got him the job.
I think you're right about that.
I think it's the one that got him the job.
World War II. He's a secret agent.
Yeah, D-Day is in the offing.
Yeah,
right.
They have that whole decoy thing going with all the paper.
And he gets stranded in Scotland. Yeah. And it's an interesting little kind of intrigue off the beaten path of everything else that's going on in World War II. Anyway, really, really very nicely done. Julie Kyrgo and Nick Redmond do another really, really fine commentary. There's also John Burlingame, who's a music historian, weighs in on the commentary as well. And it's a great isolated score track. Really terrific. Also from Twilight Time, Bobby Deerfield, one of the more underrated Al Pacino performances. This is from 1977, a year in which Star Wars overshadowed everything. Directed by Sidney Pollack. Just really rock solid in every conceivable way. It's about basically he's playing kind of a Mario Andretti type character, an American race car driver.
American race car on that European circuit. Pretty good. My mind always goes to Le Mans, though. When I think of movies about race car drivers from that period. That Steve McQueen film.
But this is just so polished in that Sidney Pollack way. Really, really nice. And you get the original commentary that Sidney Pollack recorded for the previous release before he passed. Yeah. So that is always lovely. A movie I used to laugh at, and which I'm a little nostalgic for now, Remo Williams, The Adventure Begins.
I love that movie.
Now, I'll be honest. There's something deeply, deeply troubling to me about seeing Joel Grey in that horrible yellow face makeup.
You couldn't get away with that today.
Could not get away with that today, and that's a good thing. But that being said, if you can forgive that, and if you can look past that as an attempt at making a James Bond kind of a action franchise launcher that just didn't pan out. It's not
Guy
bad.
Hamilton was Goldfinger, right?
Yeah. Guy Hamilton did Goldfinger, and he did
Diamonds Forever.
Diamonds Forever.
3 or 4.
Yeah, I mean, really, he was trying to bring the Bond action to a new franchise. Is Fred Ward that guy? Not really.
Not really. he was like a blue collar, Bondian sort of guy. And then of course you had that whole sort of But today though, it lives in that same zone with movies like Buckaroo Banzai.
Sure.
And
it's a fascinating 80s artifact. It's a fascinating 80s artifact, and it's a lot of fun. A lot of great extras on here. On how they trained him and the design of the film, composing the music. A lot of good featurettes. So that's a fun Blu-ray. My other big pick of the week, beyond 9 to 5, is Boxcar Bertha. The 1972 sophomore film from Martin Scorsese, which is the one that basically got him Mean Streets. Mean Streets happened because Boxcar Bertha was so terrific, and Barbara Hershey is so young and so beautiful and so amazing in this. This is in theory, and well, not even in theory. This was actually a Roger Corman production, made for AIP for Nicholson and Sam Arkoff, and but it transcends that. It's like Scorsese made a better film, kind of like Peter Bogdanovich made a better film than he was supposed to for Corman out of Targets.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's really, really great, based on on an actual Depression era crime story, and meant to sort of riff off of Bonnie and Clyde a little bit, kind of in the wake of Bonnie and Clyde. They wanted to do this.
Those Angie Dickinson movies.
Right.
Popular at the time.
They were trying to do all those old outlaw movies. And it is just such a really, really fine film. Beautiful recreation of the period. Barbara Hershey, again, is absolutely terrific. John Carradine is great. David Carradine is great. Really, really terrific film. And it launched Martin Scorsese into Legitsville. So,
tail end of his indie period. By the time he finishes Mean Streets, he's an A-list guy.
Absolutely. And then Taxi Driver, he wins the Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival. It was only about 5 years to go from exploitation filmmaker to A-list. And, in less than a decade, he's got Raging Bull, and his career is written. Hush, Hush, Sweet Charlotte. I'll roll through the rest of these fairly quickly. This is loaded with stuff. David Del Valle and Stephen Peros do a commentary. There's also a commentary with Glenn Erickson. Lots of film scholarship on here. This is Betty Davis and Robert Aldrich kind of doing something of a follow-up to Baby Jane that isn't quite as twisted and scary. A lot of that has to do with the fact that you don't have Joan on this. There's no Joan to sort of pivot off of Betty. Instead, you have Olivia de Havilland, who does, is a perfectly good foil, a perfectly good substitute. But it's a slightly lesser film, but still a really, really good film. Agnes Moorehead also brings the creep factor in here as well. So, I recommend the film, but you sort of have to have, I think, a little bit of a historical sense of where it comes from to sort of be able to latch onto it. It really does riff off of Baby Jane in a lot of ways, and if you haven't seen Baby Jane, I'm not sure you'll have a full appreciation for it. Frankenheimer's The Train with Burt Lancaster.
So I was thinking.
Getting into some kind of heady stuff here. Isolated score, a bunch of film historians, including Julie Kirgo and Nick Redman again on here, along with the original Frankenheimer commentary. This is one of Frankenheimer's best films, 1964. It's World War II era, just a actioner, straight up great actioner, and Burt Lancaster, one of the best at doing that stuff at the time. Really, really good, just fun movie. There's just no two ways about it. Really, really sharp script, a lot of good action stuff.
Not that long after the Manchurian Candidate, I think that was a couple of years before.
Yeah. And then as long as we're on the subject, Runaway Train. Really smart. Clearly, the people at Twilight Time, they said, we got the train, let's get Runaway Train. Runaway Train is such an interesting film, based on a Andrei Konchalovsky directed, based on an unproduced screenplay by Akira Kurosawa. And this was an attempt by Canon Films to go totally legit, to basically do something that could have gotten them an Oscar nomination, could have been a Best Picture nominee. Great score by Trevor Jones. You get it on isolated track. Eric Roberts and
very young
Eric Roberts, who's also on the commentary. Just a terrific film. I think the Canon, the shadow of it being made by Canon was sort of made it impossible for them to actually get the kind of cred that they wanted to get out of it. But I remember when this came out and people were like, wow, Canon's making a real movie.
Yeah.
Never got its awards, never got its acclamation, but boy, I'll tell you, it really handles. It really works. Still one of Konchalovsky's best films. I think it's terrific. Really terrific. 1985, Runaway Train. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Blu-ray transfer. Twilight Time absolutely kills it. And then the last one, as long as we're on trains and chases and things of the sort, is the actual movie called The Chase. This is our last Twilight Time release of late from 1966. Jane Fonda, Robert Redford,
Mr. Brando,
Angie Dickinson, the lovely Miriam Hopkins, Robert Duvall, E.G. Marshall, James Fox. Are you kidding me? This is crazy. Arthur Penn pretty much collected the mother of all casts, produced by Sam Spiegel, who at this point already had collected 3 Academy Award Best Pictures for On the Waterfront and Bridge on River Kwai and Lawrence of Arabia. So he could get anything made that he wanted to. And
Horton Foote and Lillian Hellman.
Seriously, seriously, based on Horton Foote original material, Lillian Hellman doing the adaptation. Yeah, it's absolutely great. And this all takes place in this. It's all about this prison break in this small Texas town, and all of the corruption and the politics and everything that sort of surrounds it. Really, just an absolutely fantastic movie. Brilliantly put together. Arthur Penn, never better. And the best part of this is the John Barry isolated score, because I've never been able to find this score on CD. So,
outstanding.
Just terrific. All right, Tim, we got new movies. What do we got new movie-ish?
Including extremely new Captain Fantastic. Interesting to talk about Captain Fantastic here on Blu-ray, Viggo Mortensen. So this film is one that will probably be talked about as awards season creeps along here. I don't know, would not be on my list.
Viggo plays like an old hippie,
right?
This
is guy, and he takes his family out into the middle of nowhere so he can raise them, raise his kids and live one of those sort of lives in the middle of nowhere. And it's all very, quaint and interesting until the wife gets sick. And this is when I have a problem with this film. with the nature of the characters in this film, the movie itself, because he doesn't want to break this thing that they're doing,
right,
to go and take care of his wife. And I'm like, no, that's not the way this works. Now we go back to civilization. You had your fun out here in the trailer with somebody's sick. We get our hells, get Kaiser, baby.
Yeah.
We get our asses over to Kaiser. That's where we go. Anyway, nevertheless, that's just my thoughts about that bonus feature. Insane or insanely great. I don't know what that means. It's like, is that like a doc or something like that?
Insane or insanely great.
Yeah, what does that mean there? I was
that's a featurette.
It's a featurette. That's the name of the featurette. Okay.
It's just a featurette. That's all they've got on here. Wow, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
All right, well, Captain Fantastic, Blu-ray and Ultraviolet. Look at Vigo doing such unusual outside the box work ever since he was supposed to have been the new action star, right?
Yeah. Nerve. This is Emma Robertson, Dave Franco, not James, but Dave,
who looks like you know what Dave Franco looks like, and I thought of this as soon as he starts showing up in all those Neighbors movies. I thought Dave Franco looks and acts like, well, best example I can think of is Joe Estevez. This is like, right? This is
Martin Sheen's
younger brother. Yeah. This is like, well, we can't really afford the real thing. Is there anybody that looks and sounds like him? Hey, that guy looks and sounds like him. That's his brother. Awesome.
You're walking down Frank Stallone territory.
You are.
I forget what Patrick Swayze's brother name with that whole. Because Dave is actually a fairly decent actor. I don't know this movie. I didn't see it.
It's what Eddie Murphy does with himself in Bowfinger.
Yeah, exactly. And then you have that one too, because Eddie Murphy has a brother. Eddie Murphy's brother, who's actually an hysterically funny guy.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. I didn't see this movie, so I don't know much about it in terms of the film itself. I know it's a Henry Joost, Ariel Shulman film. Those are the guys who did that Catfish film a few years back. It says that it's about an industrious high school senior who gets involved in some things online with it. So I don't know, whatever. Maybe it's fine. It seems like one of those millennial films, Blu-ray and digital HD. That the millennials will love, but you know what? I don't really know much about that, so I'm just gonna let that one go. Skip Trace.
Oh, I hate this movie.
Jackie Chan and Johnny Knoxville.
I so hate this movie
because here you go. So a number of years ago, it seems to me maybe about 20, someone figured out that if you pair Jackie Chan with a comedian, usually a black comedian who is skinny and talks fast, Chris Tucker, that you can get a lot of funny out of that. And then after that ran out, they decided to we'll pair him with the guy Owen Wilson, a couple of, and then they decided so that's still happening.
Skip Trace is this is a film Jackie's wanted to make for years and years and years, and I'm sorry, I love Jackie. I wrote a book about Jackie. I've interviewed Jackie. I've worshipped Jackie like a god.
That's a Rennie Harlan film, which is another guy that goes way back in our history.
Rennie Harlan's career completely went kaput in Hollywood.
Cutthroat Island, I think, pretty much did him in.
That kind of did him in, and he relocated to Beijing. He lives in Beijing now. Did you know that?
I had no idea. I would have thought he would have went back home.
This thing opened with like $70 or $80 million, biggest opening of his career. Now, granted, it's all Chinese money. It's all Chinese audiences. But those are the kinds of openings that movies are having in China now.
And it says something. It says something about the industry as a whole. It says something about the industry as a whole, I think. That a movie can open in China.
Yes.
Starring Jackie Chan, obviously, an icon, and Johnny Knoxville, and make, whatever you just said,
it's ridiculous.
And most Americans will have never heard of this movie and will watch it on Blu-ray.
So basically, Jackie's a detective, and Johnny Knoxville is a rogue. And he's kind of, he's like this cheater and gambler and everything else. And they wind up being awkward partners, mismatched buddies, trying to take down some international drug lord. But it's so poorly written. It's ridiculous. It makes no sense. It goes off on silly, crazy tangents. It's just slow. And the action scenes are about half speed. Jackie needs to stop doing this stuff.
Yeah, just cut it out, Jackie.
This is Jackie at like, in second gear compared to what he used to do, and you feel so bad for him. He's in his 60s and he's trying to still be like he's in his 20s.
Well, and you put Johnny Knoxville in the movie, maybe you get a few yucks.
So unfortunate, and almost there's a director commentary, and that's it. It's really,
but it still made money in China. Justin Lin was the director of Star Trek Beyond, the last released Star Trek movie.
I hated this too.
4K and Blu-ray. Look. This is the worst of them thus far. The Wrath of Khan movie, the remake of Wrath of Khan, or not the remake, but the sequel. To that, I enjoyed that movie. I did. I enjoyed that. I know you don't care for any of these things, but I enjoyed that middle movie.
Didn't work for
this
me at
one.
all.
This one definitely slips deeply. Anyway, full of all kinds of deleted scenes. A featurette. You have commentary tracks, and let's see. Oh. The young Anton Yelchin appears.
That is the only thing that that almost redeems this, is that it's Anton Yelchin's last film, and he's good. He is good as always. Such a tragic passing. And that's on 4K Ultra HD with really some beautiful HDR. I mean, this thing is so digital and there's so much CGI. It sort of blows off the screen, but. That whole kind of the whole base that they wind up in, that whole space going mini planet giant base thing that where all the climax takes place is gorgeous. It's gorgeous in 4K if you've got all the gear to check it out. But man, anyway, there's a thing on here, To Live Long and Prosper, 50 years of Star Trek, which is perfectly fine, but the 50th anniversary deserved a better movie. It's also a movie called The Last Film Festival, which is Dennis Hopper's last film. We're talking about a lot of last films here. This was made some time ago, not released until last year. It is a low budget indie that kind of plods along based on the people they were able to get in it. It has Lily Sobieski in it, and Jacqueline Bisset, JoBeth Williams, a lot of people who just really needed work, I guess. It's a little too inside. Dennis Hopper plays this producer who's trying desperately to get his film distributed. And if you don't know that scene, and if you don't know the film festival scene and what little film festivals are like, and what goes into them, and the politics of them, especially things like South by Southwest, I don't know that this really makes much sense.
It doesn't work in the same way that we talked about Shortcuts. Another very inside Hollywood movie. Yet somehow you didn't need to be one of the sort of folks who were in the movie in order to access the movie. Whereas this, if you don't get it, you don't get it.
Yeah. So anyway, this is from Monterey. If you're inside, if you're inside baseball, it'll still work for you. But it's anyway.
All right. Looking at a thing called Lights Out. From director David Sandberg. I didn't see this film, but this looks interesting to me. It's
on Blu-ray.
It's from producer James Wan, who is the producer on Blu-ray, who's the producer of the Conjuring series
and the director of the Conjuring
and the director of the Conjuring films,
who previously was in the Saw. He was one of the
central guys to that. This is supposed to be pretty good. As I understand it, special features include some deleted scenes and whatever. I suppose if we're talking about the curation of these sorts of movies, particularly around Halloween, that's what it has to offer. So it's a digital HD and Ultra Blu-ray here. Special features only include some deleted scenes.
So an absolute terrible movie here called Fight Valley. I was originally supposed to review this for radio. Could not get through more than 10 minutes of it. I kid you not. I could not get through more than 10 minutes of this. If you look, and I love movies where women fight and beat the crap out of each other and men. I do, always have. But
I live there.
Yeah. But this is just not right. This is all about underground. This is basically like tries to be a female fight club. That's sort of the idea behind it, but it's so poorly done. I mean, all it is they load it up with a lot of kind of alternative music, and they want to give a lot of female fighters and people who are not actors and cannot act a chance to show up in this movie. Miesha Tate, Holly Holm, Susie Chelek. I mean, but it's bad. It's not a good movie. It's just not good. Hate to say that.
Which matters. Yeah. Papa Hemingway. I have over here. If you and I may have been on the show to talk about this, because I can't remember. Maybe it was you and I. It's that Bob Yari film.
Yeah. We talk. If we didn't talk about it on the radio, we
just talked about it someplace else. So this is that. So this is an interesting sort of story. directed by Bob Yari, and it was told to him by a fellow who happened to be one of Ernest Hemingway's, or Ernest Hemingway's last sort of attaché, last sort of secretary, a young man who goes to live with Hemingway down in Cuba when he was at the house in Cuba with his third wife, and sort of watched the sort of unraveling of Hemingway and everything that leads up ultimately to Hemingway's. This movie has a lot going for it, but it has some things that are working against it, including an actress named Aminka Kelly. Who plays the love interest of the young man played by Giovanni Ribisi, who goes to see him, and I'm sorry, she just cannot act at all. Just at all. And one really centrally bad performance can sink a movie.
Yeah.
And it kind of sinks this movie. Bob Yari, probably a better producer than director. Anyway, this is digital HD. I'm looking to see if it has any special features on it. It does not have any special features on it. So, Papa Hemingway.
Well. All right, Papa Hemingway. It's such an unfortunate movie.
Yeah.
Good idea, but man, it's just really misguided. Independence Day resurgence.
Yeah,
we had 20 years to prepare. So did they. You know what? If you're one of the audiences that if you're the audience for the original Independence Day and you've had 20 years, you have not been preparing for this.
No,
and you've not prepared enough. Really an unfortunate movie. It rehashes what it didn't need to rehash, and the stuff that it needed to reinvigorate, it didn't reinvigorate.
And the thing that the anchoring thing of the original Independence, and in the original Independence Day, obviously Will Smith. Will Smith was already a movie star.
Yeah.
So that's one thing.
Yep.
Right. And then of course that whole sort of zeitgeist was at the time was still sort of into big alien invasion movies.
Yeah.
The special effects were fairly.
It was CGI was pretty new at the time.
Exactly.
For that way.
Particularly done on that scale.
Yeah.
All of which has been done and done and then done and then done again. So nothing about the CGI in this movie would make you want to go watch it. Will Smith is not in this movie except as I think he appears in a photograph.
Yeah, right,
painting
right.
In the movie, and then I'm sorry, I'm going to give a little something away here. Fine, turn off the radio, turn off the podcast for 1 second. They kill Vivica Fox early in the movie.
Yeah.
You want to endear me to this movie?
You don't do that.
You don't kill Vivica freaking Fox. She survived the first damn alien invasion so that she could marry Will Smith. Anyway.
Yeah.
Well, it's ridiculous.
It's a Jeff Goldblum show. They throw Liam Hemsworth in here because, well, every action movie has to have...
Jeff Hirsch is still a lot of fun in that movie, too.
Yes, he is. I guess every action movie now has to have a Hemsworth somewhere in it. And that's a thing now. I think that's contractual.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's pretty much a Jeff Goldblum show. I have to say, without Will Smith and without Randy Quaid,
Randy Quaid.
Bill Pullman and Jeff Goldblum just can't carry this. I need Will Smith to be cool, and I need Randy Quaid to be crazy. What's he doing, by the way? Is he still floating around with his wife in Canada
and that beard
on the lam,
and hiding from the IRS,
dropping his pants on YouTube, doing whatever he's been doing? He's starting to make Glenn, the character from the Vacation movies, look like a normal guy.
Glenn.
Yeah.
I have this one here called A Beautiful Film. I did not see this, but I intend to just from reading about it. It's about a dancer who is a little bit crazy and isn't quite aware of what's true and what's fantasy in her life. And she's sort of trying to figure it out. I like this. The lead actress is the actress that's on a new series, Abigail Spencer. She's on a new series called Time After Time or something like that. It's a new series about time travel, which, when I first heard about it, struck me as a perfectly ridiculous series. It's about these people who travel back in time to stop this other guy who's traveling back in time from doing things to affect the future. And all they do in every episode is go back in time and affect the future. They do everything from step on butterflies to save people from dying to each other, and every time they come back to the present, everything's all different again. And I'm thinking to myself, just stop. Yeah. Just cut it out. Just screwing it all up. Anyway, that's what this is based on. Nothing, no special anything on this, but it looks like it might be pretty good anyway.
The Id. On Blu-ray, I'm going to say an interesting thriller. I wish it had had a little bit more meat on its bones. To be honest, I wish it had a slightly bigger budget. This is a very, very indie
horror thriller kind of thing.
Kind of a horror thriller thing. I wish it had a little bit more money on it, but still, interesting concept here, even if it's not realized as well as it probably should be. This is about a woman who has been whose father was horribly, horribly abusive, and she has basically wasted her life caring for him until there is suddenly a change, a twist. Something happens that enables her to sort of redeem herself and to perhaps I can't give anything else away, but it will affect her relationship with her father. It will affect them both. As a psychological study of a person who is on the edge and who has sort of been getting there for the better part of her life, I think this is really, really good. There are times when you wish, I wish somebody like Polanski had made this, because it feels like the kind of thing he could have just really turned the screws on. But it is nonetheless it is very, very well thought out, and despite the fact that it has a small budget, it's done really well, and it's a very nice Blu-ray transfer. So that is called The Id.
Yeah. I thoroughly enjoyed this film, A Last Cab to Darwin. It's an Australian film starring Michael Caine.
I like this movie a lot.
It was just a lovely movie. It's about this guy. He's a cab driver, small town where he grows up, finds out he's going to die, finds out he doesn't have long to live.
Yep.
Gets in his cab and decides to take a drive about as opposed to a walkabout.
To the other side of Australia, where they're going to be able to to give him effectively a medical supervised suicide, death with dignity.
Yeah. And a lot of Aboriginal folks in it. Jackie Weaver shows we know Jackie Weaver from Animal Kingdom and a couple of things. So
and that Australian football playing. Aboriginal guy who kind of tags along and is such a fascinating figure.
What it reminded me of the most, anyway? The Straight Story, that David Lynch film from X number of years ago. I have to always this all like little stuff.
Absolutely.
So just a perfectly lovely little movie.
Absolutely. And then really quickly, a movie that we can it's almost impossible to describe, The Midnight Swim. Midnight Swim is one of the most unusual films.
Jennifer LaFleur, I love her.
Yeah, really a strange, unusual, fascinating film that has been in all kinds of festivals, and it's almost David Lynchian in many respects. It is a very strange and unusual movie that defies expectation, that defies explanation. It is worth checking out. Do a little search online if you need to know more about it. There's no way that I can actually even describe it. The Midnight Swim, really, really quite a sharp movie, and yeah. All right. Some other. We got a few other things.
I got a couple.
That's right.
Because it's a Le Carré adaptation. Big nut. I'm nuts about Le Carré. Yeah. Those books, which used to get adapted all the time back in the late '80s and '90s. Russia House and the Tailor of Panama and all of that kind of stuff. This is our kind of trailer. Stellan Skarsgård is in it, adapted from the Le Carré.
I like this. It's not the best Le Carré film, but it's good. I mean, mainly because Ewan McGregor is so good.
And it contemporizes all of that stuff. And it's a little bit more present day than all of that sort of Cold War stuff that's using Smiley's people and all that kind of stuff. Although, nevertheless, still classic Le Carré.
And a great cast, too. I mean, Ewan McGregor, Stellan Skarsgård, Damian Lewis, Naomi Harris. Great bunch of people.
Can't go terribly wrong.
Cannot go wrong with
what was on there? I forgot. I didn't look.
Deleted scenes, featurettes. That's it. Just some interviews, usual EPK kind of stuff, but really it's pretty sharp, really pretty sharp.
Cafe Society, Woody Allen doing that thing. He's just knocking them out every 20 minutes over the last maybe 10 years or so. He's running about 70-30, I would say. In terms of, successful films do unsuccessful films. Yeah. The last one, I think, was An Irrational Man, if I'm not mistaken. That was, This one, though, I really liked Cafe Society. It's right there with Midnight in Paris and a couple of the other later. So this is set in pre-war Hollywood, mostly, and New York. A young ingenue, and Jesse Eisenberg is sort of wooing her, and she's running around with the studio executive. This is what I like about this movie. This is still Woody Allen doing the thing that he's been doing for a while now, where he's sort of reviewing his work and his life and his sort of philosophical sort of ideas about the world. Coming out of the mouths of these characters is all that sort of Woody Allen.
I still haven't seen it. I've got to watch this.
It really is neat. But this is what I like most about this movie. This movie is viciously violent, deconstructing hairy violent.
That's great.
At least 8 people get shot right in the fucking head in this movie. And I mean Woody. We're talking about Woody Allen movie. I mean, guys. And you know what? In the 30s in L.A. in New York, that happened quite a lot.
Yeah.
And I like, and Woody being an old guy, sort of, it connects to these sort of things. And so it's really interesting, a little bit jaded, but it's still funny and kind of sexy. Plus, it's sort of Hollywood kind of thing. I got the I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, because I want to give people a little bit more on the Midnight Swim. Just so that people aren't completely taken aback.
That cave at the bottom of that lake.
I'll say this: it's about sisters dealing with a missing mom, and nothing. You should know nothing else about it, but just it's sisters dealing with a mom who is missing, and any other details are going to probably give too much away. So it is, but there's some really, it's just weird and cool and really really funky. So definitely worth checking out.
Ice Age Collision Course.
Hate this movie.
Absolutely hate this. It starts to wear a little thin about this at about this point. I think
this is on 4K Ultra HD. Yeah. I don't think the Ice Age. Two discs. Yeah. I don't think it looks great in 4K. I'll be honest. I don't think it looks great in Blu-ray. I didn't think it looked great projected. I think it's a rushed film. I think the animation is really, really not keeping pace. I think they're trying to make it look too much like the early ones. The one thing I will say, the Toy Story films, they've tried to improve the animation every single time. Mm-hmm. These, they just make it more frenetic. But the character designs have not evolved. They've not improved. The animation is not better.
Or if it is in any way more significant, it's stuff like the fur looks a little furrier.
Yeah.
And I don't care. But it's packed full of all kinds of stuff. It's 4K Ultra HD and the Blu-ray. You got a whole bunch of little featurettes on this thing and people talking behind the scenes and all that kind of stuff. So,
I'm going to go through some cult films real quickly. These all came in after we did the Halloween show, so if you got a little post-Halloween thing going, here's what you can check out. Intervision, The Trail of Dracula, From Folklore to Screen, which is a really kind of essentially it's just a documentary about the evolution of Dracula, and it skips a lot of stuff, and it's not great, but it's okay. It covers something, which is better than nothing, and I guess that's probably the best recommendation I can give it. Burial Ground from Severin is a pretty decent 1980 kind of zombie movie. Zombie movies when they had to actually do the zombie makeup and they couldn't just sort of CGI everything. There is a creep factor that is better. It is this is kind of, this is more in the giallo vein, but if you just want to see zombies eating and mutilating people, that's fine. Burial Ground from Severin on Blu-ray.
Those are
slow zombies. Yeah, not the zombies that run as fast as computers can make them run. We got a couple from the Arrow library, which are both great. Wes Craven's Hills Have Eyes in an absolutely dazzling, fantastic Blu-ray special edition, which is, this is Wes Craven at his best, and one of his first and most noteworthy successes. This thing is loaded with extras, 4K restoration, and you've got there's a poster in here, making of documentaries, audio commentary with Wes Craven and Peter Locke, outtakes, alternate ending, new interviews with some of the cast. It goes on and on and on. Trailers, television spots. It's just everything that you can possibly think of to have anything to do with Hills Have Eyes is right here. And Michael Berryman, still the weirdest looking guy ever to make a movie. I don't know. He's the strangest head and face, and he's creepy, and it's all perfect. Everything about this still absolutely works. It is maybe the best movie ever made about people who wander off the beaten path and into the middle of cannibal territory. How many movies like that? I don't know.
Yeah.
Hideo Nakata, the great Japanese director, also made Dark Water, which is out in a special edition from the Arrow Library, being released by MVD, Music Video Distributors. And if you are familiar with Nakata, you will know him primarily from the Ring series, Ringu. He made the original Ring series. Ring movies, and this is kind of his. He came back to the genre after stepping away from it because he was too overly associated with J-horror. And it is every bit as creepy as you would expect it to be. It's got all the creep factor of the Ring movies and then some. And it's the usual thing. It's a family who is having issues, and they wind up getting dragged into some kind of a weird supernatural horror show, and then it just gets weirder and weirder from there. It's great. Everything about this is just expertly done. Tons of special features on here. Brand new interview with Nakata, an interview with the guy who wrote the original story that it's based on, Koji Suzuki. And they even talked to the cinematographer. They have interviews with the actresses. There's a making of documentary. It's just absolutely terrific. So that is Dark Water from Hideo Nakata. And then the last two on the cult front come to us from Cult Epics. The first one is a movie called Sin. Cult Epics, of course, releases all the really, really super cool fringe stuff. This is from the same guy who did the movies Pig, which is really horrific, and Betty Page Dark Angel. And this is all just really. This is kind of a weird anthology set in the kind of golden era of Hollywood, 20s through the 40s, and it's just it's like I guess you would imagine is like a pre-code. Something Cecil B. DeMille would have done if he didn't really have the constraints of reputation and the code. Just stories of sin and eroticism and other really, really dark stuff that isn't worth really getting into. Anyway, so that is Sin in a special edition from Cult Epics. And then the last Cult Epics release is The Erotic Dances of Betty Page. Betty Page, who just keeps getting all kinds of releases. That's all this really is just a collection of erotic dances in kind of stag films by Betty Page. Has historical value. If you're not a Betty Page fan, you're not really going to care. So that is out there on Blu-ray as well. Very nicely transferred.
I got a few television series here, including some British series, some of which I actually rather enjoy.
Cool.
Janet King. This is Series 2, The Invisible Room. Janet King plays a singer prosecutor who goes on maternity leave and comes back, and she gets this sort of assignment. The interesting thing about this, of course, is that separation between barrister and solicitor in the British system. So you have the sort of dynamic.
Still don't understand that. I just wear different clothes.
They wear different clothes, and one I think it's the barrister that stands in front of the judge, if I'm not mistaken. That's a barrister, and the solicitor is sort of like paperwork person. Who prepares trials.
If you say so.
Something like that. Anyway, interesting. This has behind-the-scenes featurette that's 35 minutes long, and it's a highly intriguing and captivating series about that. Dr. Thorne, which is a Julian Fellows production. Of course. Downton Abbey fame. This is a very interesting series, which I thoroughly enjoyed myself as well. This particular set has several special features, including the making of Dr. Thorne and an interview with Julian talking about adapting the Anthony Trollope.
Right.
Therefore, this is based on Anthony Trollope and two or three other things. And it includes all 4 episodes of the original season. There, Suspects. I have here, it's another British television series, which I enjoy quite a bit, sort of a cop drama. This is series 3 of 4, so this is the second to the last season out on Acorn here, 8 episodes on 2 discs. It's, not a whole lot of, actually no special features on this thing. Look, the reason why I recommend this is because it's a really, really very good sort of drama, detective cop procedural drama. But you know what it's not? It's not bloody and gory. They don't do that sort of CGI, dead people everywhere kind of thing that you see, particularly on American sort of dramas.
Yeah.
The British never really came around to doing that so much. They keep it in the mind, and they keep it in shoe leather.
So much appreciated.
So much
appreciated.
Suspects, series 3 and 4 there. And I have this another Acorn series, Jericho. This is so good.
This is a good show.
This is a really, really, good show. Western show at the center of it is a black cowboy. It's sort of a British Western too.
It's great.
And it's Clark Peters, who, by the way, the other day I was watching Outland. You remember Outland,
Yeah.
Sean Connery film?
Yeah.
It's set on a moon outside Jupiter or something like that. And I didn't realize Clark Peters was one of the central characters in the film. You'll know Clark Peters from the television program Treme, which was popular just a couple of years ago. It's really interesting how you can watch a person's career. You can have been watching a person's career for 40, 35, 30 years, and you don't even realize that you've been watching them that long. Anyway, this is a first-rate series, bonus behind-the-scenes featurette that's 40 minutes long, set in the 1870s in Yorkshire. It's just a really, really interesting thing, particularly just the juxtapositions of humans. I would have never thought that this group of people would have been dealing with each other at this particular time in history, in this particular place in history.
It's fantastic.
It just goes to show what we know about how the world is really shaped, which is sort of interesting.
You know what? I'll hit a couple here. Midsomer Murders, Series 18. It's amazing to me how this thing just keeps on trucking. This show just and they maintain the quality of the writing consistently. It's a small English village, and we get the rural detective work that goes on with John Barnaby and Charlie Nelson, who are the inspectors, and it's amazing how much stuff they can continue to drag out of this. The framework of this show. It's really, really great. Some terrific mysteries here. Habeas Corpus, Dying Art, Saints and Sinners. In all, 6 new mysteries. Really, really good. Midsomer, Series 18.
I have When the Heart Calls, which is another sort of series, a 5-movie collection. This particular one. This is an interesting thing. This is season 3 of 4. It's about a young teacher who goes off to the wilds of nowhere to a small coal mining town to become a teacher in the West. And Canadians, and I mean actual Canadian Mounties, the guys in the red with the Canadian hat, that's in this movie. Rather intriguing. It's set during the present day, though. It's beautifully shot. That's what I like most about it. And again, it's about stuff that you just don't actually, And if you grew up watching Family, what was the movie with the little twin girls and Bob? God, I can't remember the name of that television series. There's a television series, and it had the comedian. And he was a widower, and he had the 2 little twin girls. And John Stamos was the brother. Who stayed with him.
Full House.
Full House.
Yeah.
And eventually John Stamos married Lori, I think Lori McLaughlin was her name.
Yeah.
And she was insanely beautiful. Yeah. Another actress who I'd been watching for 30, 35 years. She's in this movie. You know what I love about her? Huh. She looks exactly like she looked when she was 30 years old. That's her right there in the corner.
That's amazing.
Only with the red.
Yeah, doesn't age.
Absolutely beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
Indian Summers, 2nd season. If you haven't seen this show, it's really terrific. It's great. It takes place in the 1930s in basically the British enclave in India, where they, which they did in Shanghai and everywhere else, where you get to be British and act like you're British and pretend like you're still in England, only you're not. And fantastic. Julie Walters has she's just. Yeah. I give that woman make her the queen. She's so great. She's basically what JR was to Dallas, she is to Indian Summers. Yeah. She's great. It's beautifully shot. Fantastic cast. Art Malik, who was previously in Jewel and the Crown, is just terrific. And I'm so glad Rachel Griffiths is in this as well. And I love Rachel Griffiths. Haven't seen her in a while since 6 Feet Under. So really a fabulous show. This is new on PBS. It's part of the Masterpiece thing. And in the wake of Downton Abbey going away, we need all the shows like this we can get. So Indian Summers is fantastic. Don't miss it.
Michael Fassbender in a film that I had not seen called The Devil's Mistress.
Yeah.
Strikes me as interesting. What do you know about this one, Wade? Anything in particular?
Just a little bit. I have not seen the entire thing. I've seen bits and pieces of it. It is it's something of an okay period recreation of the English Civil War. When we think of things like A Field in England, which you and I saw for the radio, which was made for next to no money, and that's also set during the English Civil War, you sort of think, well, why can't they do a little bit better? I mean, the production value could be better, probably should be better. This was made some time ago. This is, I think this dates to about 2009, so it's not really, really recent. But it's being put out now because Michael Fassbender is hot and awesome now, and so everybody wants to kind of dig up everything that he's done previously. So anyway, but it's okay. Devil's Mistress, could be better, should be better, but Peter Capaldi and Dominic West are in it, so you have a good cast.
I have series 1 of Agatha Raisin. This is an interesting series. This is an interesting television program because it's actually kind of funny. Agatha Raisin is this PR executive, a high-powered PR executive. And she returns to her small town, right, and she becomes a sleuth, sort of like a Miss Marple. But she's still a PR executive while she's solving crimes. It's kind of funny. I thoroughly enjoyed it. This is season 1. It's from Acorn, behind-the-scenes featurette, and a few other things.
The Disappearance is also from Acorn. This is a 2-disc set that is, even though it's from Acorn, it's not British television. It is French television, which is normally the domain of MHC Networks. But in this case, it looks like the Acorn people are expanding, and well, they should. This is really good stuff, especially for French television, which has been kind of uneven in these kinds of things. But this is a French crime drama. And all about a missing teenage girl, and it is really well written and is really well acted and incredibly well put together all around. Most impressively, directed by Charlotte Brandstrom, female director who pulls no punches in dealing with all the incredible, horrible fallout of this missing persons case. Really good.
Outstanding. I have Winter, the complete series here, also from Acorn, 2 discs. So this is about a police detective, a homicide detective, a very good one, but decides she's not into it anymore, and she retires, or at least pulls back from the work, goes to a small town. Unfortunately, the small town that she goes to returns to. This is Australian series. There's many murders, and they're just as horrible as they were in the big city. So she finds herself being drawn back into the work. Again, another very sharp series featuring a very smart, sort of Holmesian female detective. The Brits, the Australians, and New Zealand, they're all very good at that.
Yeah.
We do it to a certain extent here in the United States, but we don't, generally speaking, do it in the same way. Usually, when we have a sharp female detective at the center of something, very often, she'll be the sidekick to a male detective. But even if she is a sharp female detective, she'll be a woman of a certain age who's usually a little bit younger and usually wears tight black jeans, and very often it's more about punching people out and curing it again. Yeah. Australia, the UK, their smart female detectives, Helen Mirren has played one. Many wonderful actors. They can be a little older, and they're always a whole lot smarter.
And then we've got a few, 3 docs, and then a few other little TV things we're going to hit before we cancel out here this week. Guilt, Season 1, originally from a series from a network called Freeform. I have never heard of Freeform. Lionsgate released this, and I got to say, if this is what Freeform puts on, I'm not that impressed. This is essentially about it's a murder mystery, and it gets very slimy and sleazy. It's not terribly well put together. They try hard. It's got some production value, but I can't say that I'm really impressed by the storytelling. Let's see where it goes in the future. If anybody out there has seen Freeform, by all means, let us know, and let us know what this is by way of network. There are networks I've never heard of. So gods@digigods.com. That's where you can always reach us. And then Ancient Aliens Season 9 from History Channel continues to find all kinds of I don't know how they keep stretching this out. Season after season, they just keep reaching. So here we go. We're on 9 years of Ancient Aliens, and it just feels like they're really reaching. So I can't really recommend that either. Hee Haw, Salute, Collector's Edition. This is more 5 hours of Southern attempt to do laugh-in a way that it appeals to the rural South. That's basically what it is.
I'm not going to pretend like I did this brother.
We all watched
from
it.
the hood didn't spend a whole lot of very happy hours watching those goofballs.
We watched it. We all watched it. A lot of good performances on here, basically. Tanya Tucker and Conway Twitty and Mickey Gilley and Tammy Wynette and Freddie Fender. There's a lot of good stuff on here in terms of the performances. So that's what's really worth checking out. And then lastly, on my little pile here, I got to really highly recommend this. Batman: Return of the Caped Crusaders. This is a fascinating new animated movie. An amazing new animated movie that DC and Warner Brothers have put together with animation that essentially replicates the old Batman TV show from the 1960s, and which it gets at least the 3 remaining voice the three remaining cast members of the original Batman show come back to do voice talent in this.
Oh.
Adam West, Burt Ward, and Julie Newmar.
Who are all still remaining.
They are all still remaining. They're the only ones. Everybody else is gone, you know. Frank Gorshin and Burgess Meredith, they're gone. And Cesar Romero. Yeah, all gone. So even Yvonne Craig, which breaks my heart.
Yeah, that girl.
So they're all gone, but otherwise, it is a really cool animated tribute to that original show, and I think what a great idea this is, and I hope they do more. This is a Blu-ray, DVD, and ultraviolet combo set. It is smartly written. It is a lot of fun, and the voices that they get for the Joker and the Riddler and the Penguin are also really, really good and pay homage to the originals as well. So I thought this was a whole lot of fun. If you love the original show, you're going to really, really enjoy this.
I got Preacher over here, season 1, adaptation of a graphic novel series, as I understand it. I watched a good chunk of season 1 of this. It didn't captivate me. In particular, I don't know the graphic novel series. So you got Dominique Cooper and Ruth Negga in this, who's really quite good. Plays a vampire. It's about this whole sort of.
That's Ruth, who's in Loving.
She's in Loving.
Who's going to probably win an Oscar?
I put her on my list. Already. Anyway, this is a Blu-ray gag reel, chainsaw fight breakdown, Behind the Killing Machine, Saint of Saviors, deleted scenes, extra scenes, all kinds of stuff. It's sort of an extension of the pilot there. Night of. I don't know this. Are you familiar with this?
Oh, Night of. Yeah. Let me talk about that. Night of. John Turturro, really, really good in this. It's called What Happened the Night of. This is on a Blu-ray and ultraviolet combo set. And this was on HBO recently, and it's one of the. This is like the flip side to what was the Ernie Hudson prison show?
Oh, Oz.
Oz. Okay, this is not Oz.
Okay,
this is the anti-Oz. That's what this is. This is basically looking at the grittiest, worst, most deeply upsetting part of the current prison system. And all of it kind of looking through like an Upper West Side police investigation of a murder, and it is really, really upsetting. They're pushing a lot of contemporary buttons, a lot of current political buttons in the current political debate, both centering around things that have been said in the presidential campaign and before. And it is very, very upsetting when you see the way that the criminal justice system works, the way it's depicted in this thing. Written, I should point out, by Steve Zalian, of course, Schindler's List, and who just does a really fantastic number on it. It feels like something that probably should have been released theatrically, but it's so dour and so downbeat and so depressing. I think HBO really is the only place that this could and should have wound up.
Where people sort of deal with it.
Yeah.
I've got Beowulf Return to the Shetlands here, which is a sort of, imagining of Beowulf returning to the Shetlands after we haven't been away for a very long time.
Yes.
This is interesting in that it has a number of notable people in it, including William Hurt and Joanne Whaley, used to be Joanne Whaley Kilmer.
Yeah.
Years and years ago, who I haven't seen around in a while. This is an interesting sort of mini-series. Swords, wolves, stabbing, cutting, hacking, slashing. Beowulf.
And the last three things we're going to talk about this week, we're well past time. 3 docs should make mention of. Hot Type, 150 Years of the Nation. This is from Barbara Koppel, who is one of our great living documentarians, especially with political subject.
The Nation magazine.
The Nation magazine, which, for those who have not necessarily followed it, The Nation has a fascinating history. It was originally a magazine of the Republican Party, Republican abolitionists created it pre-Civil War. And then it eventually became a very, very kind of liberal magazine in the New Deal mold. And it's recent,
which actually makes more sense than it sounds.
It does. It makes a lot more sense. Yeah, it makes a lot more sense. And where it kind of went from there is really fascinating and a little bit depressing for people who were fans of it. But in any way, without giving anything away on the arc of this documentary, Hot Type, 150 Years of the Nation, is really worth checking out. Just because Barbara Koppel is so damn good.
And the magazine lasted 150 years.
Yeah. The Best Democracy Money Can Buy, the movie, as long as we are on political topics. This is, again, you some of this stuff you do have to take with the understanding that we are in a very, very political and partisan season. So this is a point of view. It is not by any means all points of view, but it is. It's pretty upsetting, at least from this point of view, that
Greg Palast, who's a sort of activist documentarian,
yes.
He has a particular angle, sort of left of center angle on things. Of course, everything's that now when it comes to doc. I mean,
it's hard
you have to sit there and
what you would definitely take from this is that we do live in a time when it is very easy through the internet and the media and so forth. Money goes further than it ever has before, and even though we have more splintered media than we've ever had before, you can reach an awful lot of people with a relatively small amount of money and effort.
Well, I think as we look at, and not that we're going to slide off too political here, as we look at this campaign, Donald Trump still has only spent about $50 million.
True.
But you know what? He didn't need to spend any more than that.
Exactly.
And of course, the last few people that we've been afraid were going to buy an election, including Mitt Romney, didn't or couldn't.
Jeb Bush spent more money in 1 month trying to be Donald
Whitman
Trump
here in California. So Citizens United and all of that, interesting, but it's not really playing out
the way people were afraid.
The way people thought.
The world is changing. Yeah. And the last one here, highest recommendation from both of us for Norman Lear, just another version of you, the American Masters tribute to Norman Lear.
Plus 90 plus years old.
92 years old.
Yeah.
And he's sharp as a tack and amazing. And, this is on Blu-ray from PBS. It's such an amazing look at this giant in television history. Guy who changed television, changed society, changed the culture.
Love the way that documentary is constructed, too. Very often you have Norman Lear watching moments from Norman Lear programs. So he's sitting there watching.
Deeply affected by it.
These moments and those moments, and then commentating on what it is that he's just seen.
You get into his personal life, his family, his early career when he was a writer on the Martin and Lewis show, and those little bits where he'd show up on TV every once in a while. Jerry Lewis would say, "Here's one of our writers, Norman. Come out here." And I remember seeing those.
You know why Norman's? This is. I do not know if he says this in this documentary or not, but he probably does. Particularly, is anything behind any commentary or anything on that?
There is just not a commentary. There's Bill Moyer's thing about Norman Lear, just featurettes basically, some casting stuff from Mary Hartman. That's about it.
Yeah, I don't know if he says it any place in that doc. I don't remember, but I've heard him speak recently. I was at a thing. You know why he got into sitcoms? Residuals.
Yeah.
Sitcoms paid residuals. The other shows that he had been doing before.
And because he came from a very traditional Jewish family, he was raised to be a good provider.
Yeah.
You want to be a good provider. And that exact phrase, you can hear every Jewish grandmother
and if you know
just
a little
tell
bit
you
about
to be a good
his
provider.
father, that becomes another sort of layered thing, deeply, deeply layered topic.
Such a great doc. All right. That's it. Tim, thanks for sitting in again. Mark will be back next week, and then we'll have we got 2 more shows, and then the big holiday show, and it should be a good one. So, all right, email us at gods@digigods.com. Send us whatever you want, and we will see you next week.